Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is March 23rd. We are 1 week away from opening day, and I'm going over my award and division predictions. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. This is the middle of the order. My name is Steven, and we are officially 1 week away from opening day, and I'm so excited. I love baseball. I cannot wait to watch the games this season. A lot's happened since the Astros held the trophy, so I'm excited to get the season underway. I'm really excited, and we'll be talking about my predictions for the 2023 season. I want to thank you all for support in the first little test episode 0 that I released a couple days ago. I got some good feedback, and I want to work on it, improve it. So looking forward, I just want to continue that. If you guys have any feedback, you can reach Instagram, Twitter, mid_of_the_order. Let me know. However you're listening to this, whether you're on the Buzzsprout page, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or even the YouTube channel, leave a comment, write a review. Anything will help. Thank you all very much. So just to start, I want to talk a little bit about the World Baseball Classic that just finished up. Japan beats USA. Ohtani is your MVP. And I mean, the matchup for Ohtani pitching, closing out the game versus Trout, gets him on 3 swinging pitches, 2 fastballs, and that slider. I mean, that was one of the greatest baseball moments I have watched in the recent years. Like, that was so exciting to watch. It's great for Ohtani. Trout, now they have to take the same flight back and go play with the Angels. I think that's pretty funny. But, congrats to Japan. And the World Baseball Classic I think it was a huge success. A lot of the players loved it. A lot of the fans loved it. We were reaching records, no one has seen in recent times for viewership. So just overall, just a great tournament. It was wonderful to watch. So we're going over my predictions. We're going to start with the AL East division. So I think this is the best division still. I think that the Blue Jays, the Yankees, Baltimore, Tampa, Boston, 1 through 5 can compete with any other team. I think they are the best kind of 5 put together. But actually going in and breaking it down, there are some clear better teams and ones that are on their way down, I would say. So let's talk about who I think will win the division, which are the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that their team is complete. They made moves this offseason. They lost Teoscar, they lost Lourdes, but they bring in Varsho, they bring in Kiermaier. They have guys now. The issue last year wasn't about the hitting. The hitting, we know these guys can hit. 1 through 9, the Blue Jays have hitters. What the issues were pitching, right? And they had to address that, and they did. They did a really good job of managing and fixing their problems. They bring in Chris Bassett. They bring in Eric Swanson. They bring in Chad Green. He'll be hurt to start the season. But I think that the Blue Jays do have what it takes to win 100 games. I think they win somewhere 97 wins. I think the Blue Jays can beat the Yankees, and I think that's what it comes down to. The Yankees are who I have coming second. Obviously, the Yankees have a great team. Obviously, they bring back Judge. They bring in Rodon. Like, they help their team, but they have injuries that are going to hurt them. Frankie Montas, he's not going to be here this season. Harrison Bader, he's not going to start the season healthy. Like, that's your center fielder, right? Yankee fans, they don't like Aaron Hicks, but I guess they're going to have to send him out there to start the season. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Josh Johnson's coming off an off year, so maybe he can put it back together. IKF, same thing. He was supposed to be a big improviser in the defense. He was supposed to help that defense out, and he wasn't really that. He was kind of useless last year. I think that the Yankees, they have the nice rotation. I like Cole. I like Rodon, Severino. Like 1 through 3, it's really strong. If Montas was there, it definitely is better than the Jays rotation. But without Montas, I like the Jays rotation. I like Gausman. I like Manoah, Bassett, Kikuchi, he was an all-star a few years ago, and he had an off year last year. So if he can find some of that form back, they're going to get Ryu back from Tommy John later in the year. So, depending on where they are at that point, that's going to be huge for them. Jose Barrios, he definitely had an off year last year. Jose Barrios did not look like the Jose Barrios that he was with Minnesota. So, in terms of that, I think that the Blue Jays, with their rotation the way it is better than the Yankees currently. The hitting, without a doubt, 1 through 9 is better than the Yankees. I think Judge is the best hitter between both teams. But when you look at overall, you get down to that Yankees bomb in the lineup, it starts to have those flaws. Yes, you have Rizzo and everyone. Gleyber Torres, he needs to stay up healthy and consistency. Same thing with Stanton. Stanton has been one of those guys who constantly gets hurt. We haven't seen like a fully healthy Stanton season since that 2017 MVP year with the Marlins, where he hit 60 something home runs. Stanton needs to be a guy. They're pitching. The bullpen is strong as well. Loizaga still in the back ends there. No more Roldis Chapman. The end of the era for the Yankees. So they're going to need to find a new closer. So I think the beginning of the season is going to be testing the waters there for them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like the Yankees as much as I like the Blue Jays. I mean, it's going to be a back and forth battle. I just think that when these two teams play, that's the must watch baseball. Who's going to end up taking those games, because now with the new scheduling, they're going to play less games against each other. So the games that you do play against the Yankees will matter if you're Blue Jays, and vice versa if you're the Yankees. Um, Moving on down, I think Baltimore will come third, which might surprise some people because Tampa's still there. Baltimore's team on paper is young, and some of the names, but they're not guys yet. Gunnar Henderson and Ali Rutschman, those were the top two prospects. They got their feet. Rutschman came in about mid-season last year, Gunnar Henderson towards the end, and they both looked good. In terms of the Baltimore lineup, you have Ryan Mountcastle, who's still very good at hitting first baseman. Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Anthony Santander in the outfield are all hitters. Anthony Santander had himself a great World Baseball Classic, and I'm sure he's going to be carrying that into the start of the season. I think Baltimore's still biggest flaw is pitching. They bring in a couple guys. Kyle Gibson's now there. Cole Irvin signs a deal. I think Baltimore, the big part of it is John Means. He's been coming back. He's going to come back from Tommy John surgery sometime this year. He's a part of Baltimore culture. He's been kind of the ace and the only really upside to Baltimore in 2018 and 2019. So having him back, having him be your ace, I think Baltimore is going to look better than they did last year, and they still looked really well last year. They overperformed and overachieved at every point, and I think I might be a little high on them, more than I should be, but they haven't made the playoffs since 2016. And when I look at these guys and the guys that they have still, like, even though guys like Grayson Rodriguez, he hasn't gotten his chance yet, he's their top prospect. I'm sure he comes up sometime this year and makes his debut. I think if he's what he has been in AAA, I think Baltimore is going to look good and, be a strong contending team this year. Going down to Tampa, I have in the 4 hole. I mean, Tampa is just a team with guys. And honestly, looking at this now, I might need to switch my predictions already. I think Tampa might end up being third. I don't know. It's very close between these two. Obviously, the Rays have their ace in Shane McClanahan, who had a fantastic season last year. I can't stress that part enough. And they have guys there too. Shane Baz, he was hurt a little bit. He's been a top prospect. He should be starting this season. Tyler Glasnow is coming back shortly, so that's going to help them out. Obviously, you have Drew Rasmussen. Tricky name, though, that one is. And the bullpen's good, too. Jason Adam, he came out of nowhere last year and was one of the Rays' best arms. Pete Fairbanks in the back end there, still doing his thing. Obviously, they go over and they have Colin Pouchet still and Jeffrey Springs. pitching has always been the Rays' kind of strong point, and it's not even like that the players. They find these guys off the street and then just say, "Hey, you're with us now, and now you're the best pitcher ever." They have a way with pitching, and they've had that for the last few years now. And that lineup, it's good too. The catcher position is a little weak. Francisco Mejia is kind of the guy who should get most of the games there. But when you actually start to look at the pieces they have there, Brandon Lau, he'll be coming back. Second baseman, he was really good a few seasons ago. Isaac Paredes had a really nice year. They traded for him last year for Austin Meadows, and he had himself a really nice season with the Rays. Obviously, you have the top prospect once a while ago, Wander Franco. So having him healthy, having him be there, and of course Yandy Diaz. Not to mention the outfield, Randy Arozarena had himself the best World Baseball Classic. Like, I don't know what to put it. Randy was just incredible, robbing home runs, hitting home runs, playing with flair, playing with passion. Randy wants it. He lives for the big moments. Manuel Margot still there, and Jose Siri, as well as Harold Ramirez. So the Rays team is good. They have the guys. Looking at it, Baltimore, they're young and fun, and the pitching is what's gonna have like the issues. DL Hall is there, Michael Givens. So I mean, I could talk myself back and forth. I think with Baltimore and Tampa, I think I want to root for Baltimore just because they haven't had any playoff success recently, and Tampa. I mean, they had the World Series in 2020, but the whole Blake Snell thing. I don't know. It's tricky. I'm gonna say Baltimore. I'm thinking Baltimore is going to come third and Tampa will come fourth. That's what I'm going to say. And that leaves us with Boston coming fifth. And nothing against Boston. Obviously, they've got some guys there. Rafael Devers is there. They sign and bring over Justin Turner. He'll be doing some DHing with JD Martinez leaving. Bobby Dalbach, he's been a prospect around for a little bit. Hopefully, he can find it this year. They still have Kike Hernandez. Alex Verdugo, who is the big part of the Mookie Betts trade. They bring in Adam Duvall as well. They also have the Japanese player that they signed, Masataka Yoshida. He had himself a really nice World Baseball Classic. They also go and get Adalberto Mondesi from the Royals because they lost Bogarts this season, which is going to hurt their team. I don't think that Boston fans are too happy with the team that they're going to roll out this year. They need to try to stay positive. That the team is still good on paper. I think if you put them in the AL Central, you could have them competing for first. They just have to go through the Jays and the Yankees and the Rays and Baltimore. It's just not an easy road. And putting them all in perspective, I think Boston does have the worst team. I think pitching is their biggest issue. Chris Sale, he hasn't really been anything. His last healthy season was 2018-2019. If Chris Sale can be the Chris Sale again, Boston can do better than fifth, without a doubt. It's just tricky. And, I mean, Corey Kluber they're bringing over Kenley Jansen. So they got some pitching help, but I don't think it's enough. James Paxton's there, Canadian boy. It's tough if you're Boston, and I just don't think they're gonna have what it takes to do much in the division. I think they can win a lot of games. I think they can be a 500 ball club. I just think that, the Yankees are going to finish with 94 wins, and Baltimore's going to finish with 88, and the Rays are going to finish with 87. Like, it's just not going to be enough there for Boston this year. But come on, Boston, surprise me. Have a good year. Moving on, we will take a look at the AL Central Division. Last year's winners were the Guardians. This year's winners, I think, are going to be the White Sox. When you put this into perspective, the White Sox had a season last year like no one's ever had before. I'm going to list off some of their key injuries. Yasmani Grandal, Tim Anderson, Yoan Moncada, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Andrew Vaughn, Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, Garrett Crochet. Like, that's their top 10 players almost. Like, they were guys, and to never have like them all together healthy at one point, like anything that could have gone wrong for Chicago last year did. It doesn't surprise me that they didn't play well because obviously some of your team was always injured. They finished 500 at 81 and 81, and they lost Jose Abreu. They lost their leader, really. So, but having those guys back, having the full team healthy, Dylan Cease had one of a great seasons for the White Sox for pitching. Michael Kopech's in that rotation still. Lucas Giolito, he needs to find himself again because last year was not it when he was healthy. He was not pitching well. Tim Anderson, I think, is an electric shortstop. Yoel Moncada's there. Eloy, Luis Robert, Andrew Vaughn. Like, they have the guys there to do it. Mike Clevenger, he should be pitching for them this season as well. It's a really great team. Kendall Graveman should be closing out the ball games for them. We'll have to see what they do. Obviously, due to Liam Hendriks, who honestly we wish the best. Liam Hendriks is going to be fighting cancer. I'm not sure if he'll return this season, but we're wishing the best for Hendriks. He has been a dominant closer the last 3-4 years. So him not being able to perform obviously sucks for baseball in general, but the White Sox are definitely going to take a hit without him in the back end closing out those ball games for him. Moving on, Cleveland Guardians I think will come second. I think their pitching is still one of the top tiers in the games. Tristan McKenzie, Shane Bieber, kind of lead that rotation. James Karinchuk in the back ends, and Emmanuel Clase had himself an incredible season. He's proving why he's going to be one of the dominant arms in our game for a long time. When you look at the actual offense, Steven Kwan and Andres Jimenez, young guys who really outperformed what anyone thought they were going to do. Steven Kwan really came out of nowhere and had himself a really good rookie season. They bring over Josh Bell. He was once something with the Pirates. If he can find it again and be the Josh Bell that I've seen him, that's really good for the Guardians. And obviously Jose Ramirez is there. He's one of the best players in this game, let alone third baseman. Switch hitter, lots of power, hits for contact. He does it all there. It's really good. Oscar Gonzalez, Mr. SpongeBob Man in the postseason last season. He's still there. And, of course, Josh Naylor has all the pizzazz in the world. Their catching situation is a little bit rough. Mike Zunino will start the season behind the dish. They'll bring him over. He hasn't really played a healthy season in a while. But they do have Bo Naylor, and Bo Naylor is a top prospect for the Guardians catching-wise. And he had himself a nice World Baseball Classic as well. So we'll see if the Guardians want to have him start in the majors when they call him up. If they call him up, that'll be something that Guardians fans will have to watch and keep an eye out for. Going on, the Twins, you bring back Correa, and that's all you care about. No, I'm kidding. But they have some pieces that it looks good. They are a strong team, obviously, but I just think the Guardians, the White Sox, are better. Pitching-wise, Pablo Lopez, they brought over from the Luis Arias trade. He should be doing a lot of the pitching for them. He might be their ace, their number one, I think. Sonny Gray is there. He's still there. Kenta Maeda, Tyler Mahle. So they have some guys there. The bullpen, Emilio Pagan, Juan Duran. He had himself a really good season closing out. He was a rookie, so it was good to see that. They bring over Christian Vazquez. Christian Vazquez was traded to the Astros last season and now is signed with the Twins. That's really good for them. Obviously, Jose Miranda's there. Jorge Polanco. Byron Buxton, if he can stay healthy, I mean, that's where all the success really comes from the Twins. If Byron Buxton, if he is healthy for a full 162, the Twins will win the division. Byron Buxton is an electric factor. He keeps the franchise afloat. Without him, this franchise is nothing. I think if he can stay healthy, the Twins can actually do much better than I'm thinking. Obviously, they have a lot of outfield depth as well. Joey Gallo gets brought over. Nick Gordon's there. Max Kepler, Alex Kirilloff, once a top prospect. They signed Michael A. Taylor. So the Twins are there. I like their team. They just don't really have that it factor for me. Obviously, Correa is going to be batting second, batting third. He's going to be your big offense for your next few seasons here. Pair him up with Buxton. I think the Twins' offense is going to be better than it was last year. But we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see what they can actually come up with. And that brings us to the Tigers. And the Tigers were bad. They were bad. Oh my God, the Tigers were so bad last season. It was bad to watch a Tigers game. It was kind of sad, really. It was one of the worst things you could have put your eyes to see. But they do have some good news, and one of that being Miguel Cabrera. He's retiring this season. He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. So he's going to have himself a nice farewell season, and it will really be up to the Tigers to see if they'll have a nice winning baseball season. I don't think so. Javi Baez, let's start with him because you paid him a lot of money to sign with your team, and last year you paid him 22 million to put up an OPS of 671, which is atrocious. It's so bad. Like Baez was swinging at pitches in the dirt every other game. For being that electric shortstop that he was with the Cubs, bringing him here was just so pathetic. It was a bad season for Baez. He has to rebound, and he has to rebound hard. Like the Tiger fans need him to be kind of that next piece for them, that big kind of veteran presence in the clubhouse. And he was not good last season. So a lot of Tigers' kind of success this season will come from Baez. Jonathan Scope is still there. I feel like that guy's been playing for a while now. Spencer Torkelson, he's another reason why the Tigers were really bad last year. Top prospect, was supposed to be one of the guys for Rookie of the Year, and he struggled hard. Not to say that every top prospect's supposed to come in the majors and just be an elite player, no. But it was really bad. They had to send him back down to AAA at times. If he can get the hang of things, if he can get more of a major league feel, I think the Tigers definitely need that from him. He's supposed to be kind of replacing Miguel Cabrera at first base, so we'll have to see how he does. The outfield, Riley Green was kind of the big upside for them last season. He came up and had a lot of success. I'm looking forward to watching him play this year. They have Austin Meadows there, as well as Akil Baddoo, who is a fan favorite there. Pitching wise, Casey Mize had Tommy John surgery. He's been dealing with some back issues. Having him come back is a big step forward for the Tigers. He was a top prospect. He pitched pretty well when he had his major league time. They bring back Matthew Boyd, so hopefully he can find himself again. He was really good for them a few years ago. Eduardo Rodriguez is still there. So they have some okay pieces. They just don't have any kind of star factor. If their star player is Javi Baez and he's swinging at pitches in the dirt, it's you're not going to have much success as a franchise, and I don't think this season is an exception. You looked at last season with Torkelson coming up, with the addition of Baez, they had some guys there. People were thinking the Tigers were going to have themselves a really good season, and it really wasn't. It was a really bad season. I could easily put them fifth here because the Royals, at least they, were able to play up to standard a little bit. The Tigers did not do that at all. But moving on to the Royals, who I do think will come fifth. Obviously, you have Salvador Perez, who's still there. He's kind of been the guy for the Royals for the last, 8 years, something like that. So he's still back there doing it. They have a really nice stadium, too. Hunter Dozier's still around. Nicky Lopez, Bobby Witt Jr., their top prospect. He had himself a nice season last year, so we'll have to see how he can continue to develop himself into a major league kind of top-end shortstop. Vinny Pasquantino, the Italian, he had himself a nice World Baseball Classic. He slots in there as a DH hitter probably. Outfield-wise, Drew Waters, he was a top prospect for the Braves. Kyle Isbell. It's a young team that has potential, but I think they're a few years out. Pitching is where I would say this team kind of shines, and even then their pitching was pretty bad last year. Brady Singer, I like Brady Singer. I think he's a fun watch. I love watching this guy pitch. I love his wind up. I'm curious how the pitch clock is going to affect him, because he's going to be one of those guys that probably has to change his wind up a little bit. Josh Darmont, if you haven't seen him pitch, I would say you check him out. He has an electric fastball, kind of just blows off the end of his hand there. Ryan Yarborough's on the team. I thought he was still with Tampa, so that's a little interesting twist. They probably got him this season. And they have Aroldis Chapman, who who knows what he's been doing with all of his stuff at home, getting hurt every other night. They also have MJ Melendez as a catcher. Amir Garrett, we remember him from the Feisty Reds fight in 2019 when he decided to fight the whole bench. So yeah, it's an okay team. I just think the Tigers can do better. I hope they do better than last year because last year was hard to watch. And I mean, with Tiger fans, they're gonna come and watch games for Miguel Cabrera, to watch him one last season. So I mean, I think the other players should help out, give him a show, give him a team worth watching. Because man, those Tigers were really bad last year. But yeah, that does it for the Central. The White Sox, I think, are going to be first, Guardians second, Twins third. Those are going to be the three kind of contending teams. Tigers and Royals be more in the back end there. It's not going to be surprising if any of those teams can really win a division. The Twins, the Guardians, or the White Sox. But I just like the Guardians team better, or excuse me, the White Sox team better on paper. Tim Anderson is just an electric shortstop. I love watching him play. But let's move on from the Central and talk about the AL West. A division full of color. The Orange Astros, the Teal Mariners, the Blue Rangers, Red Angels, Green A's. Full of color these teams are. First place in the AL West, I think to no one's surprise, is Houston. They are elite. They are the juggernauts. They are one of the best teams and have been for the last 5 years now. Jose Abreu gets brought over, which is really exciting for them. They get a nice first baseman. I think he's definitely better than Yuli Gurriel, who finds himself with the Marlins, I believe, now. Jose Altuve is there, but obviously he's going to be hurt a little bit due to the World Baseball Classics. He'll probably miss the first few months of the season, kind of come back maybe around the All-Star break. Alex Bregman at third, and Jeremy Pena at shortstop. Jeremy Pena kind of cemented himself with his postseason last year as kind of the replacement for Correa. So I think the Astros, that's the thing about the Astros. They lose Springer, they bring in Yordan. They lose Correa, they bring in Pena. Like, these guys always have someone to back up and carry on one another. Martin Maldonado, one of the best defensive catchers in the league, one of the worst hitting catchers in the league. Corey Lee, young catcher, he's around. He should be having some moments there. Kyle Tucker, love this guy. Lefty, big power. He cements himself in right field there. He's really good there. And then you have Yordan Alvarez and Michael Brantley as well. So a lot of good left-handed hitting outfielders there. Moving on to their pitching, it's just as strong. Hunter Brown's a young guy who should be making his debut sometime this season. But if you want to go the rotation, Luis Garcia, Christian Javier, Lance McCullers Jr., Jose Urquidy, and Framber Valdez. Not in that order, obviously, but still, it's just so many guys. I think they have one of the better rotations in the league. And the bullpen is just as good. Ryan Presley has been an elite closer for a few years now. Hector Neris is there. Ryan Stanek. So, yeah, the Astros have that team, man, and I don't think Seattle's there yet. I think Seattle's coming up. Like, Seattle is good, and we saw it last year, but they're not at Houston level yet. And I mean, last year in the 19 games that they played in the regular season, Seattle won 7. So, it got better, but you got swept by the Astros in the playoffs. Like, you know what you need to do, and that's to beat the Astros. Though that's the big brother in your league, you gotta beat them. And they made some moves that might help them do that. They bring in Teoscar Hernandez from the Blue Jays. Julio Rodriguez, your rookie of the year, he's going to be there in center, kind of cementing himself. They have guys in the outfield that you can play around with. A.J. Pollock, they bring him over from Chicago. Taylor Trammell's been a prospect that, is still trying to find himself. And speaking of a prospect trying to find himself, Jared Kelenic needs to be that guy. A top prospect who hasn't done much in the majors. He's having himself a really nice spring. So hopefully that carries over to some regular season success and he has himself a good year with Seattle. Tommy La Stella gets brought over. They traded for Colton Wong. Suarez is there. Ty France, J.P. Crawford. Fan favorite Cal Riley kind of came up last year and kind of did his thing. Kind of cemented himself as kind of the next big catcher, I guess. And the pitching is nice there too. Robbie Ray, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert. They got pitchers there. Matt Brash, Canadian boy. Luis Castillo, I forgot they got in a trade last season with the Reds. In that bullpen, they lost Swanson, but they have Diego Castillo. They have Andres Munoz, who had himself a really good bullpen year last year, a good year out of the pen, as well as Paul Sewald. He's still back there. So the Mariners got guys. It's just a matter of, can you put it together for 162? Can you beat the Astros? That's what it comes down to. And I think Seattle, they're right there, but the Astros are just a step above, because the Astros are the Astros, man. They're an elite team, an elite franchise. They're really good. So it's going to be a back and forth battle, I think, between those two teams for most of the season. I think Seattle can edge out a few wins against them. I think it's going to be close, though. Going to the Angels is my third place team, and they have to do it this year. They have to make the postseason, because Shohei Ohtani is not on the Angels next season. I'll tell you that right now. They made some moves that'll help him out, but I mean, you have Trout and Ohtani, and you can't make the postseason. It's sad. They have to do it this year, and they're gonna go all out. And I think they made some moves that will help, but I think they could have done more. They should have done more, knowing that it could be Ohtani's last year. Taylor Ward had a good year for them last year. Hunter Renfroe, Mickey Moniak, Brett Phillips they bring over. They trade for Gio Urshela. Anthony Rendon needs to be there. Brendan Drury. They have guys there. Pitching-wise and hitting-wise, you have Ohtani. Use Ohtani, like help him. Win him some games. Win Trout some games. Make the playoffs. Please, Angels, be good this year. They're bringing Tyler Anderson. Aaron Loop's still there. He's doing his thing. Patrick Sandoval and Ryan Tepera are the guys there for the Angels. I think they have to come third, because you gotta give them a chance. Be contending this season at least. You guys died pretty quickly in May, June last year. So come on, be healthy, Trout and Ohtani. Please have some fun. Moving forth, we have the Rangers, and of course they made some big moves this season to help them out. I want to hope that the Angels are better than them this year. They still have Simeon and Seager there. Nathaniel Lau had himself a really good season last year. If he can have another one of those, I think the Rangers are going to be a really up-and-coming team these next 2 years. Josh Jung, prospect third baseman. What can he do in the Rookie of the Year this year? Mitch Garver, Brad Miller still there, Adolis Garcia, Jonah Heim. So the lineup is nice. And the pitching is nicer when you bring in Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi and Andrew Heaney. And Jake Odorizzi, they pretty much just decided to sign a whole new rotation, and it's much better than it has been. Dane Dunning, Joe Barlow's still there. They have Will Smith, the pitcher Will Smith, not the catcher Will Smith. Pitcher Will Smith, he's been brought over, as well as Martin Perez, who had himself a really good season for them last year. He would find himself in the rotation as well. And you have Jose Leclerc there, fireballer. He'll be in the back end as well. And that brings us to the A's. Start playing the violins, because this team is bad. We all know Oakland is going to be bad this year. So let's have them do us a favor, Oakland. Just be bad. Just lose your ball games. Bring out 20 people into your attendance. Have some fun. Aledmys Diaz is there. Ramon Laureano, I guess. They have a lot of young talent that, is a couple years away. It's sad if you're an Oakland fan, man. I mean, you look back, turn back the clock a year or 2 years, 3 years ago. You have Matt Chapman, you have Matt Olson, Sean Manaea, Chris Bassett, Marcus Semien. They had such a good team, and now it's all gone. They traded all of them away within 2-3 years. Last year, they traded away Matt Chapman to the Jays. Matt Olson goes to the Braves. Sean Manaea went to the Padres. Chris Bassett went to the Mets. Now they traded Sean Murphy to the Braves, and that was the only piece that was actually worth watching, that the fans could get behind. That was supposed to be your catcher, and you had to get rid of him too. Tony Kemp, I think, is probably my favorite player on the team, just because a lot of the players on the team are not good or they're too young. Shea Langelaris, he got some time up last year. I like his upside. He could be doing some DH catching Manny Pena they got in the trade. He'll be doing the catching, I guess. Um, Obviously, their best player is Paul Blackburn for the rotation. He's been pretty good. They bring in Trevor May as well. I don't want to keep talking about them, and it's gonna make me sad. Oakland's a sad team. Oakland, please be better. No, Oakland, be bad. You're bad. Just I don't know. Like it's tough if you're Oakland, and if you're an Oakland fan and you're listening to this, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope you have a team that you're happy about soon, or you move to Las Vegas. Who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen with that? Moving on to the NL East, we have the Braves, and I think the Braves are the best team in the East. And you could debate and say it's the Phillies, or you could say it's the Mets, but it's the Braves. And if you think I'm wrong, leave a comment. Let me know that. Let me know who you think is the best out of those three. I think it's the Braves, and I'll tell you why. It's because their pitching is elite, their hitters are fantastic. I mean, 1 through 9, these guys do it. Ronald Acuna Jr. is kind of like the backbone of that team. Michael Harris II is there. Aaron Marcell Ozuna, Eddie Rosario. So the outfield is nice. You looking at infield, Ozzy Albies. Hello. Come back from injury. We missed you last year. Matt Olson, we talked about coming from Oakland. He's there still on a big deal. Austin Riley, he signed that mega extension. He's going to be around for a long time. They bring in Sean Murphy. And I mean, let's just go over the pitchers, right? Max Fried is a stud. We love him. Spencer Strider has got the stash for days, wearing number 99 this year. Kyle Wright had himself a really good year. If he can do it again, that would be great. The bullpen, AJ Minter's in there. He's really good. Raciel Iglesias, they got him from the Angels last year. He's a strong guy. Kirby Yates is there. We haven't really heard from Kirby Yates since 2019 with the Padres. So I'm not sure if he's going to be playing or if he's still injured or what the deal is here, but he's on the roster here. I like the Braves staff. I think they're going to win 100-plus games, which is saying something because, yeah, that division is tough, and you want to move on to the Phillies, who I think will come second. The National League champions of last year, and they got better. Trey Turner comes in, and that's going to be a big part in the Phillies' success this season, which is why I have them over the Mets. Hey, they might surprise me and beat the Braves, but I think I like the Braves a little bit more. Bryce Harper, he had Tommy John surgery at the end of playoffs, so he won't be healthy to start the season. The idea is that he'll come back sometime near the All-Star break and do some DHing, which means someone like Kyle Schwarber, who's not the strongest defender, is going to have to be playing his time in left field when that happens. Nicholas Castellanos, he had a rough year his first year with Philly. If he can bounce back, kind of find it a little bit. And they brought over Brandon Marsh as well for last year in the trade with the Angels. So he had a nice little start to his Philly stint at the end of last season. He was playing really well for them. Alec Boehm, Rhys Hoskins, Bryson Stott. So the Phillies have their guys. Not to mention the best catcher in baseball in JT Realmuto. Pitchers wise, Jose Alvarado as should be the closer, I guess, but you also have Craig Kimbrell. The bullpen got better, which is a huge plus. So Anthony Dominguez is still there. And when you look at that rotation, I mean, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Taijuan Walker, Ranger Suarez. So they're definitely a strong team. They bring over Gregory Soto in the trade with the Tigers. So he'll get himself some innings closing it up. And that will take us to the Mets. And the Mets went out. They spent some money, obviously, because that's what Steve Cohen does. Big money bags. That rotation took a hit losing DeGrom, but it's okay because you bring in Justin Verlander. Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, those are your guys, ages 35 and up. It's good to see. They bring in Kodai Senga from Japan. He'll be in the rotation, slot himself in there. Of course, we talked about Edwin Diaz not being healthy this season, which is the big blow. This is actually part of the reason why I think they'd come third, because besides Diaz, the bullpen, they've got pieces, but it's not anything strong. Edwin Diaz was a big part. He had a lot of saves for them last year, and without him closing out those ball games, there's going to be some close games between the Phillies and the Braves. Might be a one-run game, and if you don't have Edwin Diaz closing it out, I sense comebacks. I sense, the Mets have been known for that in the past years, And without Diaz, I think it's going to be a little bit more of an uphill battle for the Mets fans, as they think. When it comes to that lineup, though, they have no worries at all. Pete Alonso at first base, Francisco Lindor at short, second base, McNeil. You look at that outfield, Marcana, Brandon Nimmo. We talked about he's a little day to day right now. Starling Marte, Tommy Pham. Darren Ruff. They brought him over from the Giants last year. He should be at third. They've got nice pieces. Brett Beatty is supposed to be their prospect sensation this year, so we'll see what he does. The Mets team, it looks good. I just think that the Braves and Phillies are going to have better seasons. Not to mention the Braves as well. They're going to bring back Mike Soroka sometime this year, hopefully. He played 3 games in 2020 before he tore his ACL. And then while healing from that, he re-tore his ACL. So he has not pitched since then. He actually just got into a spring training game and pitched for the first time since that 2020. And he pitched an inning there. So, hopefully he's healthy because he was so much fun to watch. In 2019, he was an all-star. He came second in the Rookie of the Year voting results, and he was 6th in Cy Young contention. So Mike Soroka, pair him up with Fried and Strider. The Braves, just another reason why you gotta love the Braves and why I think the Braves are gonna have themselves a really good year. That moves us to the 4th place, Miami Marlins. And nothing against the Marlins because I love Sandy. Sandy Alcantara leads that rotation there. They bring over Johnny Cueto. They have Edward Cabrera. Hopefully Sixto Sanchez is going to be able to be healthy at some point this year and come back for them. Jesus Luzardo, once Oakland A's top prospect, now Miami. Max Myers there as well. AJ Puck from Oakland as well. Their hitting is kind of where they'll slack. The fish got arms there. The Marlins have a lot of pitching. Luis Arias they brought over to help with the hitting. Joey Wendell's there. They signed Gene Segura. Jordan Groshans, once Blue Jays top prospect. He should have some time there. And of course, Jazz Chisholm. We know he's going to be moving to the outfield athlete cover of MLB The Show 23. He'll join an outfield kind of with Brian De La Cruz, Avisel Garcia, Jorge Soler. He'll be doing most of the DHing probably. Jesus Sanchez as well. So yeah, Miami has a good team. I just think that, they're just not as good as the Mets, Phillies, and Braves, that's for sure. And that brings us to the Nationals. And the Nationals are the Oakland A's of the NL. They're bad, but the upside to the Nationals is they have their prospects. I like their prospects a lot more than I like Oakland's prospects right now. CJ Abrams, they got him from San Diego. They have Yeimer Candelario. Jeter Downs is there. Luis Garcia, Carter Kieboom. Joey Meneses, he kind of came up last year and was like, hey guys, I'll be your guy this year. And kind of just, when Juan Soto left. They traded Juan Soto last year. That's crazy. That's wow. Lane Thomas, Victor Robles, I guess is the most tenured National. Corey Dickerson's there as well. They bring over Dominic Smith from the Mets. Catcher, they have Riley Adams and Keibert Ruiz. So, prospects, right? It's going to take a while. Mackenzie Gore, once Padres' top prospect, is there as well. Carl Edwards Jr., Patrick Corbin. Let's hope he has a decent year. He's had some very, very, very bad years. And Steven Strasburg. And the Steven Strasburg story is a sad story. I mean, they got this guy on a steal, essentially. Like, I can't even formulate my words right now. Steven Strasburg, 2019, helped them make it all the way. They won the World Series. He was the MVP. He signed a 7-year, $245 million deal. And since then, he's only pitched 8 games in 3 seasons. He is injured every moment. Just when you think he's about to be healthy, he gets injured again. It's bad if you're Nationals fans, because I mean, and even baseball fans too, because he's a good pitcher, but he just doesn't pitch, 3 years. That's 162 games through 3 years, and he's managed 8 starts. like a starting pitcher these days, maybe has 30 starts in a year if you're healthy, and he has 8. Like it's bad, and National fans, I do not envy you. I wish you the best of the luck in that division because, I mean, the NL East is just as good as the AL East. I think the difference is I would take Boston over Washington 10 out of 10 games. Yeah, so that's where we are with the NL East. All right, and moving on to the NL Central, let's pick up the pace a little bit here. The Cardinals, I think, will come first. They have a really strong team here on paper. They obviously lost Pujols and Molina, but they are still the best team in the Central by far. The Brewers, I don't know. I don't like the Brewers, to be honest. Like, ever since trading Hader, something about them. There's a lot of players I do love with the Brewers. Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Willie Adames, Keston Hiura, Abraham Toro they bring over, Rowdy Tellez. We love Rowdy Tellez. Jesse Winker, Christian Yelich. But I just, I think the Brewers are better than the Cubs and the Pirates still, even though I think next year they won't be. But, yeah, I don't know. This team, it's okay. Obviously, Devin Williams is the new Josh Hader there. Willie Adames, I don't know if I mentioned him because, he's just a fun shortstop to watch play. Going back to the Cardinals quickly because I kind of didn't mention them at all. New catcher Wilson Contreras is there. You have the studs of Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Gorman, Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, Canadian Tyler O'Neill. And the rotation's nice. Jack Flaherty's there. Miles Mikolas is there still, and they have guys there. Steven Matt's also there. You look at that bullpen: Jordan Hicks, Ryan Helsley, Giovanni Gallegos. So yeah, nice pieces there for the Cardinals. They're definitely going to come first in the division. Mark it in, bet it in if you're better. The Cubs, I think, will come third. They made some nice moves this offseason. They went out, they got Dansby Swanson. Patrick Wisdom is around still. They bring in Cody Bellinger, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki. They bring in Trey Mancini, on Gomes. Fun Cubs team. It's going to be the most exciting Cubs team since Rizzo and Baez and Bryant. Pitching-wise, they still have Stroman. They bring in Jameson Taillon. Julian Merriweather, once Jay. He's on the Cubs now. Kyle Hendricks, he was pretty good for them a few seasons ago. Let's see if he can find it still. The Pirates will come fourth in my predictions. I love the upside to the Pirates. I think they're a young team on their verge up. Obviously, they bring in fan favorite Andrew McCutcheon. He's back as a Pirate. Brian Reynolds, he wants out, but he is their best player, and he is very good. I put a lot of stock in Brian Reynolds when he first started his career, and he has not disappointed since. They're bringing Connor Joe, Ke'Bryan Hayes, and O'Neal Cruz, 2 more of their young prospects who can do it really well for them. They bring in Ji-Man Choi from Tampa, fan favorite of mine. I love me some Ji-Man Choi. Pitching-wise, it's not the strongest. Mitch Keller, once top prospect, he needs to have it for a full season. They bring in the 40-something-year-old Rich Hill. He's still pitching is crazy. David Bednar kind of closes out their games for them. It's an okay Pirates team, but they're definitely on their way up. Definitely have the right pieces. They brought over Carlos Santana kind of to be the voice, the veteran leader there. So we'll have to see what the Pirates can do. And that brings us to the Reds. Another kind of not good team. Good players, though, and good prospects. Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, fun starters, young, fun starters that I loved watching last year, and I'm going to love watching them again this year if I have to tune on a Reds game. Luke Maile and Tyler Stevenson behind the dish. Jonathan India, once top Rookie of the Year winner. Joey Votto, the Canadian, he's still there. Kevin Newman is brought over. They have Will Benson from the Guardians this year. Will Myers from the Padres. Nick Senzel, he's still around. The Reds team is nice. The Reds team is okay, but it is nowhere close to any of the other 4 teams in the Central. Let's move on to the NL West. Dodgers, we know they're the best team. Just because the Padres beat them in the playoffs last season. The Padres, I think in a short series, can beat the Dodgers. We saw it happen last year. But I think across a full 162, the Dodgers are still the better team. They have been a team of change recently. They have no one that was the 2017 Dodgers has Clayton Kershaw and Chris Taylor on it. Everyone else is gone, which is crazy. The Dodgers took a big hit this season. They lost Trey Turner, Tyler Anderson, Andrew Heaney, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Joey Gallo, Craig Kimbrell. A lot of guys were lost for the Dodgers. But it's okay because they still have Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. Max Muncy's there. They bring in David Peralta and JD Martinez, so they get to rekindle their teammate friendship that they had with the Diamondbacks. The pitching's just as good. We mentioned Clayton Kershaw still around. They bring in Noah Syndergaard. Julio Urias had a fantastic year for them. Dustin May should come back at some point and be a stud for them. Brusdar Graterol and Tony Gonsolin, who had himself a crazy season last year that was not talked about enough. So the Dodgers are still good. They shedded a lot of payroll. Shohei Ohtani. So the Dodgers are still going to be the top dogs in the NL West. But the Padres are close behind. And I mean, when you have a pitching rotation with Yu Darvish and Blake Snell, it's tough to go. Joe Musgrove there as well. You look at their bullpen. They have Drew Pomeranz there. Robert Suarez was a guy for them. Tim Hill. Josh Hader, I still think is a top reliever in the game. They have Michael Wacha. He'll be doing having some starts probably. Catchers, Austin Ola's there, but I think they're going to shift their focus to Luis Campusano, who's been a top prospect of theirs for a while. He should kind of get his starts now with Jorge Alfaro not in the mix. They bring over Bogarts. He's going to play shortstop with Manny Machado to his right. Jake Cronenworth at second probably. Or maybe Ha-Seong Kim at second and Cronenworth at first. So I don't know what they're going to do there. What we do know is Tatis is going to move to the outfield when he's back. He has 20 games left on his PED suspension, so he should come back towards the end of April. Juan Soto, he's there. They bring in the old dogs, Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz. You know, who knows what's going to happen with them after the season, but yeah, it's definitely good. The Padres are definitely going to be right with the Dodgers, kind of back and forth, neck and neck the whole way there. This is going to surprise some people. My third pick, the Diamondbacks. I like the Diamondbacks. I like the upside, and I love their young talent. You know, they bring in Gurriel from the Jays. Corbin Carroll, he's going to be a fantastic player. Kyle Lewis, Jake McCarthy, Alec Thomas, Josh Rojas, Ketel Marte, Evan Longoria, Carson Kelly, Gabriel Moreno. The players are good there. Pitching is good. Zach Gallen, he's cemented himself as one of the top arms in our game. Madison Bumgarner still around. Merrill Kelly. You look at that bullpen, they got Mark Melancon. And Joe Mantiply had a really good season for them last year. So, Diamondbacks, you're looking good. I think you guys can beat the Giants, which is kind of my biggest hot take so far. I think the Giants team is good. I love their players. Mike Yastrzemski, love him. Mitch Haniger, love him. Michael Conforto, love him. Like, I love the players. Wilmer Flores is still there. Brandon Crawford, J.D. Davis, Thiago Estrada, Joey Bart, supposed to be the next Buster Posey. We haven't seen it yet. Pitching-wise, they lost Carlos Rodon, but they bring in Ross Stripling and Sean Manaea to replace him. Camilo Doval as their closer. He's electric. Anthony Desclafani once really good. He's had some struggling years. And they brought the Rogers together. Brothers, Tyler Rogers and Taylor Rogers to pitch out of the bullpen. And, of course, they have Logan Webb, kind of their ace in the hole for the Giants there. And that brings us to the last team, the Colorado Rockies. Good players, like the team, but just not as good as any other teams in the division. Daniel Bard, Kyle Freeland. Daniel Bard kind of their closer. Kyle Freeland kind of their ace. And Dinelson Lamet, he was really good with the Padres 2021. He hasn't been since, and you know he's battled with injuries. Herman Marquez is still there. He can find it. Jose Urena, once Miami pitcher, now here. He needs to find it. C.J. Cron, Ryan McMahon, and Brendan Rodgers are kind of their best players. They all play in the infield together. Charlie Blackmon, he's been around for decades now. They have Randall Grichuk. Chris Bryant, they brought over last year in a weird free agent signing that nobody expected. They have Jurickson Profar that they signed recently, and then Michael Togala. He's a top prospect of theirs that he should get some time with there in this season. All right, whew, that was a lot. So yeah, that's kind of what I think the divisions will end up looking as. In terms of playoffs, I have the Jays, the White Sox, and the Astros as the division winners, obviously. In terms of the wild card, I'm thinking New York Yankees, Seattle Mariners, and then surprisingly, Baltimore. I think Baltimore is going to do it. I think they're going to break their little postseason drought. I'm probably wrong about that one, but I'm going to have hope for Baltimore. In terms of the NL, obviously I said the Cardinals, the Braves, and the Dodgers winning the divisions. So those wild cards are going to go to the Padres, the Mets, and the Phillies. It's going to be the exact same teams as last season. Not because that's boring, but because there really isn't anyone else. These 6 teams for the NL are juggernauts. They're great teams. All of them are elite teams. You could put any of these as the best team, and you can arrange these 6 however you want them. But after that, there's a big gap between the 6 and 7. Unlike the AL, where there's kind of more clumped together, the top 8ish or so, the NL is very top heavy, and that's what I'm expecting it to be. Last thing here are predictions for the 2023 season: MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, Reliever of the Year, Manager of the Year. These are all my predictions now, so if you have anyone else that you think, you can let me know by Twitter or Instagram. We talked about that already. Let's start with the AL MVP. Obviously, a lot of people will want Ohtani, Judge to repeat. I think Jose Ramirez deserves some respect to be talked about in this conversation, but I'm going to go with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think he's going to have himself a really strong year with the Jays, which is why I have them winning the division. I think Vlad is going to have himself easily 45 home run season. He won a Gold Glove last year. So, he can play first. He can do it. He won't be DHing that much. I think Vlad is going to be a big part in the Jays' success this season and why he's going to win MVP. Moving to the NL, I have Trey Turner. I think Trey Turner has been in the shadows of players for far too long. I think this guy needs to be talked about as the star that he is. He is the best shortstop in the game. He had the best World Baseball Classic, 5 home runs recently. I think Paul Goldschmidt, who won last year, could be talked about. Freddie Freeman, and I think Austin Riley is there as well. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those guys win it, especially Riley. I kind of want to put some Austin Riley stock in as well. But Trey Turner, watching his swing recently, it's much more smooth. He's got a lot more power behind his bat now. I think he's going to hit 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases and have himself a 40-40 season. I think Trey Turner's found himself a really nice home with Phillies fans. The Phillies got lucky with Turner. I think he's going to have himself a fantastic year. Heading over to the Cy Young winners, the AL one, I think you could mention any of the AL East pitchers, kind of the aces. I think Alek Manoah, Shane McClanahan, and Garrett Cole can all win it. But I'm going to go with a sneaky underdog here, and I'm going to go with Framber Valdez. I think he had himself a really good season last year. There was just that minor issue that Justin Verlander was better than him. Like Justin Verlander, same team, and Verlander was shining every other game. With him out of the picture, I think Framber is going to get a lot more of the spotlight. I think he's going to be their opening day starter next week, and I think he's going to have himself a fantastic year pitching. He's going to have a fantastic year. Moving on to the NL, both last year's Cy Young winners are now in the same division, being Justin Verlander with the Mets and Sandy Alcantara with the Marlins. However, I believe the Cy Young winner for the NL won't be either of them, despite them having good seasons. I'm going to go with Zach Gallen. I talked about him a little bit when I did the quick go-through of all my divisions. I think the Diamondbacks are coming third, and I think that's because Zach Gallen is going to be dominant this season. I think he's going to have himself a fantastic season. I think he's going to win 20 games, have an ERA under 2. I think Zach Gallen is going to have himself a season that he will never forget. But I think Spencer Strider should be talked about as well a little bit. He had himself a really nice rookie season, and he could definitely make some noise there. Moving on to rookie of the years, I looked at it a little bit. I want to find someone who wasn't kind of basic. I wanted kind of an underdog. I thought of Jordan Walker a little bit, even though he's kind of supposed to be in contention there for the NL. For the AL, I was thinking Josh Jung for the Rangers, Logan O'Hoppe for the Angels. But at the end of the day, it's hard to pick against Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll. I think both of them are going to win the Rookie of the Years. Henderson for the AL, Carroll for the NL. Corbin Carroll, I think, is going to have a 30-30 season. I think he's going to have a rookie season like we haven't seen in a long time. I think this guy, he came up last year and he kind of lit the Diamondbacks franchise on fire. And all of a sudden, a lot of people have hope for this team and for him specifically. So I think Corbin Carroll is going to ease his way into a nice Rookie of the Year for him here. Moving on to the relievers of the year. Who will be the relievers of the year? AL, I have Ryan Pressly. I think the Astros, despite a couple moving pieces and everything, they're going to need him in the back end to lock down those close games. And I think he has just been behind some of the other guys like Clase and Liam Hendricks for a while now. I think Ryan Pressly has himself a really nice year, looking close to 50 saves. And for the NL, I'm going with Josh Hader. I think Josh Hader, he had that slump in the middle of the year that for some reason the Brewers want to trade him. And I think he's going to have a great year for the Padres. I think those close games against those Dodgers, he's going to come out. It's going to be important to him to kind of pitch around Freeman, get those close games, make a lot of saves. I think Hader, he's going to be in it. And I think those are going to be your relievers of the years. And finally, we have our manager of the years. Let's start with the NL this time. And I'm going to say Brian Snitker of the Braves. And that is because I think the Braves are going to win 110 games this season. I'm very high on the Braves. I like their rotation, their lineup. Brian Snitker, I think he's going to have himself a really good year. He's going to be able to manage the games really well. That's who I think is going to win the NL Manager of the Year. And for the AL Manager of the Year, if all things go according to my predictions, that would be Brandon Hyde from the Baltimore Orioles. Obviously, if you're going to get your team into the postseason for the first time since 2016, with a team with young guys who haven't really proved themselves much yet, he deserves it. I think he deserved it last year. Obviously, Terry Francona, with the bunch he had, he did a really good job, but Hyde needs to be talked about more. I think he deserves all the love and support, and I think Baltimore is going to have himself a really good year. That's going to wrap up this first episode here. My predictions are in. Leave your predictions in the comments if you're on YouTube, or reach out Twitter or Instagram at mid_of-the-order. I'm excited, man. Opening day, 1 week away. I'm excited. Let's do it. Let's go. Baseball is back, baby. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for the support. I will see you guys next week. Take it easy.